So there's three specific areas we're going to talk about today. We started to touch on it. I want to talk about how being a strategic salesperson, somebody who's highly effective at creating strategic partners, who has a high level of emotional intelligence, who's able to build relationships deeply, who's able to build trust, and who's able to close a high percentage of deals, they show up authentically. And being authentic is somebody who's fully self-expressed. And when you're fully self-expressed, you're able to experience more joy in your life. Unfortunately, for the most part, my belief is most salespeople feel like it's a transaction, and it can really burn you out. You know, numbers, ROI, numbers, ROI, I got a quota, got to hit it, got a quota, got to do it, got to make my ROI, got to make my profit, my margins like this. And people tend to get into a particular way of behaving that has them win the deal, but doesn't necessarily have them connect deeply or express themselves fully. And so then they kind of feel like they've lost connection to their job, or they don't have purpose in their job. They also don't tend to bring their feelings to business or to the sales transaction or the sales relationship. And they also tend not to honor their intuition. In my opinion, for the women in the room, it's been my experience, not necessarily like it's the truth, just like it's an experience, that we tend to follow the way men do business, which can, from my own experience, really burn us out. We have very different strengths than men do. Their strengths work great for them. I find that when we try to follow in a man's footsteps, it can be a little bit too rigid and linear for us. And I think that they have great things that we can learn from, and vice versa, great strengths that we have that men can learn from too. So I'm not here to tell any of you there's one particular way. If a man is the one that's winning in the sales team, I don't suggest that you follow exactly what he does as a woman, because it might not work for you just based on the differences between being a man and a woman. And there's not many people who talk about that. And the reason I want to talk about that is because I feel like there's too many of us trying to be something we're not in business, and it's burning us out as a whole group or as a collective of human beings. And as a woman, I feel like we're burning out too fast, and too much of our talent is leaving the corporate world. For the men in the room, some of you will be leaders and executives, and you're going to start to notice what I'm talking about with your teams. And it's about how well do you engage your teams, your sales teams, or your executive teams across different lines of business. When you show up as a salesperson who's authentic, or when you show up as a leader who's authentic, you're able to engage more, you're able to influence more, and you're able to have people execute on your strategy. It's my belief that, you know, showing up authentically is really important, so I've included it. Yeah?
How would you, what would be your recommendations to kind of find the authentic self?
Yeah, we're going to go through a little bit of that today. In some of the interactions, I'm going to lean on that a little bit today. I'm not going to lean too much on it because it's more deep work. So finding your authentic self, you may or may not like to hear this, but oftentimes it has to do with dealing with your childhood, traumas, wounds, parents. How do you take rejection? What does that mean? Where did it come from? Like that. So I'm going to push a little bit today on that. I may ask a bunch of questions and then not have you answer them, only because it's not the purpose of today, and it's deep work, and you may not be comfortable to do that. But one-on-one coaching and like that helps. The second area we're going to talk about is emotional intelligence and how to build deep connections. We started on that a little bit today. We're really going to dive into listening and questioning. And then the third area is the sales cycle. Sales is a sequence of steps. There's no shortcuts. Oftentimes, people skip steps, and that costs them the deal. So I'm going to outline the very specific steps of the entire cycle, and then we're going to go a little deeper onto each piece.